Imagine for a second, right, that you are just holding a standard deck of 52 playing cards.
Yeah.
You shuffle them up, give them a really thorough mix, and then you just lay them all out in a row on the table.
It's just a completely random spread.
Yeah, exactly. And the mathematical odds of that specific sequence of cards occurring are, well, they're so astronomically low that it is practically guaranteed no one in the entire history of the universe has ever shuffled a deck into that exact order before.
Oh, yeah. The math on that is just mind-boggling.
Right. Like every single time you do it, it is a literal statistical miracle. But, you just look at it and think, yep, that's a shuffled deck of cards.
We really do take it for granted.
We take the miraculous completely for granted because, to us, it just feels like Tuesday.
Well, we constantly normalize the improbable, right?
Yeah.
Just to function.
Yeah.
If you were to sit down and honestly calculate the math of your own existence.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, the exact sequence of genetic combinations, the evolutionary pressures, and all the historical accidents required for you to literally be sitting here listening to this right now, the numbers would be paralyzing.
Is it too much?
It is. It's just easier to assume we're mundane biological accidents.
Right, but the philosophy we're diving into today completely shatters that assumption. So for this deep dive, we are looking at a framework titled Part 4, Philosophy, Purpose, and Ultimate Destiny.
A heavy one.
It really is. And it kicks off by basically demanding that we stop ignoring the math. It argues that every single human, including you listening right now, being a statistical miracle isn't just like a fun piece of trivia. It is the defining feature of reality.
Yeah, we aren't just biological accidents wandering around on a rock. We are purposeful actors in a universal system.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because treating human existence not as an accident, but as, well, a mechanism with a specific job to do, that changes absolutely everything about how we view a normal day. We're going to start with the individual, figure out the objective rules of reality, learn how to pilot what it calls Spaceship Earth, and then finally discuss the literal end and rebirth of the universe.
What's fascinating here is how this framework takes that paralyzing feeling of being a statistical anomaly and assigns a direct operational responsibility to it.
Right.
The argument is that you aren't just incredibly lucky to be here. You are here to perform a function that the universe fundamentally requires to sustain itself.
Right. But before we can, save the universe, I feel like we have to understand the forces at play.
Oh, absolutely.
So it all boils down to a cosmic tug of war between two opposing forces, entropy and synergy. Now, we usually hear about entropy in physics class, right? It's that natural, unavoidable tendency for systems to degrade into chaos.
Right, like a messy room.
Yes. Or if you abandon a house, the roof eventually caves in, the wood rots, the pipes rust. That's entropy, things just breaking down. But synergy is positioned as the exact opposite. It's this active force of organizing, building, and making things greater than the sum of their parts.
And crucially, entropy operates automatically, like the house rots on its own. Synergy, however, requires effort.
You actually have to clean the room.
Exactly. It requires an input of energy and intelligence to maintain order. Because in a purely physical universe, entropy always wins eventually. The energy just dissipates. But this philosophy argues that conscious life, and specifically human consciousness, is the universe's countermeasure.
See, here's where I have to push back on this premise just a little, because I understand entropy from like a biological or architectural standpoint. You have to eat food to maintain your cellular structure.
Sure.
You have to fix the roof to save the house. But extending that to a cosmic scale and saying it is my personal philosophical responsibility. If the universe's natural tendency is to wind down and get messy, why shouldn't I just enjoy the ride?
Right. Why care?
Exactly. Why is this philosophy demanding I act as a cosmic janitor against a fundamental law of physics?
Well, because you aren't separate from the universe, stepping in to clean it up. The argument is that you are quite literally made of synergy.
Wait, really? What do you mean?
Think about the human brain. You've got billions of neurons firing in this hyper-organized network to produce abstract thought. It is the most dense concentration of anti-entropic energy we know of.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So if you choose to just, enjoy the ride and lean into chaotic, destructive, or highly selfish behaviors, you're actively working against your own fundamental composition.
Oh, I see.
The philosophy suggests that the universe is in a really delicate state of equilibrium. Human consciousness evolved specifically to act as an agent of synergy. By choosing order and connection and creation, you are providing the counterweight to cosmic decay.
Okay, so leaning into apathy isn't just a harmless lifestyle choice then. In this framework, it's like a mechanical failure. You are a gear refusing to turn in an engine that totally relies on you.
That is the exact implication. We're tasked with amplifying synergy to maintain reality's upward trajectory.
hmm
If conscious agents fail to do this, well, the system falls out of balance.
But that raises a massive logistical problem for me. If my cosmic job is to generate synergy and fight entropy, how do I actually measure that? Because usually we think of morality, what is a good action versus a bad action, as entirely subjective.
Right. What's right for one culture might be wrong for another.
Exactly. It's fluid.
And modern society absolutely treats morality as a social construct. We negotiate it.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because this philosophy violently rejects that idea. It introduces a concept called value realism,
Yes.
which essentially argues that morality is a branch of physics. Look, we all agree gravity is an objective reality, right? If I drop an apple, it falls.
It's hitting the floor, yeah.
It doesn't matter if I believe in gravity or not. But this framework argues that things like truth, beauty, and justice are just as real and just as objective as gravitational pull. But I need you to explain the mechanics of that because, frankly, it sounds like poetry, not physics. How can truth have a physical mass or force?
It helps to view it through the lens of entropy and synergy that we just established. Under value realism, good and evil are not opinions. They are mechanical outputs.
Okay.
Actions that promote creation, organization, and synergy are objectively good. Actions that cause unnecessary destruction, division, and entropy are objectively evil. Let's take your example of truth.
Right.
Why is truth objectively synergistic? Because a truth aligns perfectly with the reality of the universe. It requires zero additional energy to maintain.
Oh, because it just is.
Exactly. A lie, however, creates a false parallel reality. It requires constant cognitive and social energy to maintain the deception.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you have to remember the lie.
Right. And when the lie eventually collapses, it creates chaos, mistrust, social fracturing, which is literal entropy.
Okay, that makes sense. A lie is an entropic cascade. It just burns up energy and leaves a massive mess behind, whereas the truth is structurally sound.
Precisely. And this applies to beauty as well. True beauty, whether it's in a piece of art, architecture, or music, often relies on mathematical proportions, harmony, symmetry.
The golden ratio kind of stuff?
Yeah, exactly. It is a highly organized state of matter or sound waves that resonates with human consciousness, inspiring further creation and connection. It generates synergy.
Wow.
So value realism states that these forces, truth, beauty, justice, are foundational pillars of reality, and human beings are the only known instruments capable of perceiving and actualizing them.
So we act as the conduits, like we take abstract synergy and pull it into physical reality by telling the truth or painting a canvas.
Yes. And the philosophy makes a compelling point about our current era, actually. It argues that for most of human history, we were guessing at these forces through myth and religion. But now, through the convergence of science, psychology, and philosophy, we finally have the intellectual sensory equipment to measure these things.
Right.
We can literally observe the neurological and societal impacts of trauma, which is entropy, versus connection, which is synergy.
So we finally have the dashboard to see how the engine is running.
Exactly.
But let's ground this for a second. Because understanding that I am a conduit for objective cosmic forces is, well, it's incredibly heavy.
It's a lot.
How does a normal person actually apply this without just freezing up from the pressure? If I am expected to tip the scales of the universe before I've even finished my morning coffee, I need a very practical toolkit here.
Right. The framework provides that toolkit by zooming out to our immediate environment. It leans heavily on the concept of spaceship Earth.
Oh, the idea popularized by Buckminster Fuller.
That's the one.
Right, it's that perspective shift where we stop viewing Earth as this infinite landscape to be conquered and start viewing it as a finite vehicle hurtling through space. Like, we are not passengers, we are the crew.
Exactly.
And we have a life support system that requires sustainable stewardship.
But the framework takes spaceship Earth beyond just ecological sustainability. It applies it to the psychological and spiritual state of the crew. If the crew is divided, reacting purely on instinct, unaware of their own internal mechanics, the ship crashes.
Let me push on that, though, because if we are the crew and our mandate is to generate synergy to keep the ship flying, why does the day-to-day experience of life often feel so chaotic and entirely random?
What do you mean?
Well, it rarely feels like we are steering. It feels like we are hitting severe turbulence blindfolded. We experience weird coincidences, sudden tragedies, unexpected encounters. Where is the order in that?
So that perceived randomness is addressed through the concept of synchronicity. In this framework, those highly improbable, meaningful coincidences you experience aren't glitches in a random universe.
Okay.
They are the underlying intelligence of the universe responding to the interconnected consciousness of the crew.
Wait, are we talking about quantum entanglement here? Because saying the universe arranges coincidences based on my thoughts sounds dangerously close to the kind of pop mysticism where, like, if I just think about a sports car hard enough, one will manifest in my driveway.
No, it is not about manifesting material desires. The framework refers to us as quantum-linked participants. It suggests that consciousness operates on a network level. When you deeply align your actions with those objective forces of synergy, truth, and harmony, you reduce the friction between yourself and the external world.
Okay, so less resistance.
Exactly. Synchronicity is the friction disappearing. The universe seems to cooperate with you because you are finally moving in the same direction it is. But to achieve that alignment, the philosophy introduces a highly specific psychological practice called the Neo-Fourth Way.
Okay, New Fourth Way sounds like heavy jargon. Break down the actual mechanics of what that practice is.
It basically revolves around two specific esoteric mechanisms: self-observation and self-remembering. Most humans operate on an automatic, deterministic loop. Like someone insults you, your heart rate spikes, you get angry, you insult them back.
Right, basic cause and effect.
But that is an entropic cascade. It's a chain reaction of destruction that you didn't consciously choose. It just happened to you. Self-observation is the active process of splitting your attention. You participate in life, but a part of your consciousness remains detached, watching your own mechanical reactions.
So being the watcher of your own thoughts.
Yes, but self-remembering takes it a step further. It is the act of remembering your presence in the environment and your cosmic purpose in real time.
Wait, really? In the middle of an argument?
Exactly. So when the insult happens, you observe the anger rising, you remember your role as an agent of synergy, and you actively intervene in your own neural loop. You choose not to retaliate. You break the chain of entropy.
That is fascinating. So by simply refusing to react blindly to an insult, I am literally stopping the spread of entropy on spaceship Earth. I am acting as a conscious co-creator of reality in that exact moment.
That is the core of the Neo-Fourth Way. You are decoupling from the mechanical laws of cause and effect and injecting conscious synergy into the system. Every time you do this, you essentially upgrade the operating system of the entire spaceship.
Okay, but what does this all mean when things go catastrophically wrong? Because it is one thing to observe your anger during a minor argument, you know?
Right.
But this philosophy also tackles meaning and purpose on a macro scale, and it explicitly argues that we should view cataclysmic events as catalysts for profound transformations. I struggle with this immensely.
It's a tough concept to swallow.
It really is. How do you look at a massive planetary disaster or even a deeply unjust personal tragedy and frame it as a positive mechanism for our cosmic narrative? It feels dismissive of actual human suffering.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is entirely counterintuitive, especially given our biological drive to simply survive. But the philosophy demands we adopt what it calls expanded humanism. We have to analyze events not just through the lens of a single human lifespan, but through the timeline of universal evolution. We are not just trying to survive the winter. We are tasked with guiding the universe towards self-awareness. And in any highly complex system, stagnation is a form of entropy.
Oh, because stagnation means the system isn't evolving, so it's slowly dying.
Yes, and sometimes a system becomes so entrenched in its old, inefficient ways that minor synergy isn't enough to fix it. A cataclysm acts as a massive, high-pressure injection of chaos.
Sure.
It shatters the stagnant structures.
I see.
It forces the surviving elements to adapt, deeply interconnect, and generate a massive, reciprocal wave of synergy just to rebuild.
It's the mechanics of a forest fire.
Exactly.
Like to a single tree, the fire is absolute evil. It is maximum entropy and destruction. But from the perspective of the entire forest ecosystem, the fire is a necessary mechanical function. The extreme heat forces the pine cones of certain trees to finally crack open and release seeds. It burns away the dead underbrush that was choking the soil. The tragedy of the fire literally forces the next evolution of the forest.
That's a perfect analogy. And in this framework, those fires aren't just localized to ecosystems. They apply to human consciousness and societal structures. A global crisis forces the crew of Spaceship Earth to drop petty divisions and invent new cooperative technologies.
The cataclysm forces the synergy.
Yes, and this cycle, this constant ratcheting up of complex order born from the fires of chaos, leads directly to the ultimate conclusion of this philosophy, the final destination of our spaceship, the Omega Point.
The Omega Point.
Ah.
Wow, it sounds incredibly absolute. What is the actual mechanism of this destination?
So the Omega Point is defined as the ultimate climax of existence. It is the future horizon where human evolution and cosmic potential fulfill their mandate. But it is described as a paradoxical state. It is the moment where the universe reaches maximum entropy and maximum synergy simultaneously.
Let's pause right there because mathematically and logically that sounds impossible. How can a system experience maximum chaos and disorder while simultaneously experiencing maximum order and harmony? Those are opposing physical forces. They cancel each other out.
Under normal operating rules, yeah, they do. But the Omega Point represents a boundary condition. It's a phase transition. Think about a star that has burned through all its fuel.
Okay.
The outward pressure of its fusion, the synergy, and the inward crush of its gravity, the entropy, reach their absolute extreme limits. The star can no longer sustain the tension, so it goes supernova.
Right.
In that singular moment of unimaginable destruction and chaos maximum entropy, the heat is so intense that it forges heavy elements like carbon and iron, which are the very building blocks of life. That is maximum synergy. The destruction and the creation are the exact same event.
Oh, I see. The system is pushed so hard that the rules of thermodynamics just break down and flip. The universe reaches a threshold where it can no longer contain the density of human consciousness and universal complexity.
Exactly. The Omega Point marks the literal end of this current universe. We don't just exist to keep the engine humming forever in a steady state. We are driving the system toward its absolute maximum limit. The equilibrium is permanently broken.
We basically push the spaceship until the hull completely disintegrates.
We do. But the promise of the Omega Point is that the disintegration is also a gestation. The peak of this universe's existence triggers the birth of a brand new reality. We are the midwives to the next iteration of existence. The culmination of all human struggle, all the truth, beauty, and justice we generated becomes the seed for whatever comes next.
It's a staggering reimagining of the human condition. I mean, you wake up thinking your biggest problem is answering emails, and it turns out you are a statistically miraculous engine of cosmic synergy.
It drastically reframes the mundane, doesn't it?
It really does. You are tasked with using objective morality to steer spaceship Earth through the fires of cataclysm, all to drive the universe to a paradoxical breakage point that triggers the rebirth of reality itself. It just changes the weight of every single action.
It certainly does.
And that brings us to the core takeaway for you, the listener, as we process this deep dive. If this philosophy holds true, you are not a passive observer trapped in a random, meaningless void. You are an active, quantum-linked participant.
Exactly.
Every time you utilize the neo-fourth way, every time you catch yourself before reacting with anger, every time you choose to tell the truth, every time you create something beautiful, you are literally fighting the cosmic decay of entropy. You are adding necessary fuel to the spaceship to help the universe achieve its ultimate evolution.
It places the highest possible value on human consciousness. But it also leaves us staring into a rather profound mystery.
Oh.
Yeah. The framework maps out our destination, the Omega Point, right, where our universe ends to birth a new one. But if we follow that logic backward, it demands a pretty wild question.
Let's hear it.
Well, if our ultimate destiny is to become the seed for a new reality, does that mean our current universe, the one we're living in right now, is simply the offspring of a previous universe's Omega Point?
Wait, which would mean the Big Bang wasn't just a random explosion of gas?
Exactly. It would mean our Big Bang was the climax of an ancient, forgotten civilization in a previous universe. A civilization of statistically miraculous beings who achieved the perfect, maximum synergy required to shatter their reality and give birth to ours.
Oh, wow. That thought alone is enough to fundamentally change how I look at the night sky. We might just be the inherited synergy of a universe that already finished its job.
It's a vast system to consider, and we are right in the middle of it.
We are indeed. And we want to thank you for bringing us along on this intellectual journey today. As you go about your week, keep questioning the mechanics of the things around you. Practice observing your own reactions. And whatever you do, remember that you have the agency to add a little bit of synergy to your corner of Spaceship Earth. Because when you look at that freshly shuffled deck of cards, the miracle isn't just that the sequence exists. The true miracle is that you are the one conscious enough to hold it.
Well said.
Until next time, keep diving deep.